Let me show you in 2 seconds flat why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. I call it the success cycle, real fast. Draw yourself 4 squares, put them up on the screen here. You'll notice you've got the word potential up in the left-hand square. Up in the right-hand square is the word action. Bottom right is the word results. Bottom left is the word belief, or another word for that would be a sense of certainty. Potential, action, belief, results. And notice there's arrows in a clockwise fashion where they just keep feeding each other over and over and over again. So again, it's potential, action, results, belief, or another word for that would be certainty. Now, do you ever notice how rich people tend to get richer and poor people to get poorer? And I don't just mean rich in financial terms. I mean people that are rich emotionally. Do you ever notice how happy people tend to get happier and depressed people tend to get more depressed? How many found this to be true? Say aye. It's because the power of momentum and what I'm about to show you. So let me show you something here. What's the potential of any human being? You tell me, quick. Unlimited. Do most people's results reflect that true potential? Yes or no? No way. Why? Because most people aren't taking enough what? But is it possible to take a lot of action and still get lousy results? What if you got a salesman that works for you and they walk out and they knock on 100 doors and they say, you wouldn't want to buy anything from me, would you? Or they don't say that verbally, but they say it non-verbally. Is that going to affect their results? Yes or no? So it's not enough even to take enough action, because when we believe it's not going to work or we're uncertain, does that affect how much of our potential we tap? Yes or no? See, if you don't think it's going to work, you're not going to put out a bunch of your energy when you think it's going to fail. And by the way, when you're not sure, you tap little potential. Do you take little or a lot of action? When you're not sure, when you think it's not going to work, you take massive action or little action? Now, when you take little potential with little action, what kind of results do you get? Little lousy results. And when you get lousy results, what does that do to your belief? You go, see, I told you it wasn't going to work. Told you it was a waste of time. And then, by the way, when you have less belief, how much more potential do you take? More or less? If it's possible, you tap less potential, more or less action. Less. And what happens to your results? They get even what? And now that you got worse results, what's that do to your belief? And by the way, now you see the current economy. Isn't it true? Everybody out there is going, oh my God, the results are so bad, it's going to get worse in the future. So I better pull in my horns, there's less potential, so I'm not gonna push as hard. I'm not gonna take much action. Oh my God, I'm getting lousy results with little potential action. Oh my God, it's gonna get worse. That's what creates a recession, depression, whatever you wanna call it. How do you change that?
This is where, worry is almost always pointless, because like in each moment, there's either something you can do to solve a problem or there isn't. Right. Now, if there is something to do, well, then just do that thing, right? Solve the problem, right? If there isn't, there's actually nothing to worry about. Like the worry adds nothing to that situation, right? So if you have a brain tumor, yes, you need to go from one doctor and probably to a second doctor for a second opinion, and you find the surgeon you want, and there's a whole process. You're going to get an MRI, all of it. You're having to deal with a lot of, yes, objectively stressful things, but I mean, big picture, we're all in this situation. I mean, life itself is a brain tumor. I mean, we're all going to die. We're all going to go on this. We're going to get the full tour. Now, I mean, for some of us, some of us will be very lucky, and it will be very orderly and free of pain, and we'll be surrounded by everyone we love.
100 years old.
Yeah, it's just going to go perfectly. And for some people, it'll be chaotic and terrifying and short or long. I mean, so it's every permutation, and I'm not denying that it's rational to have preferences there, right? I mean, you do want the orderly, loving,
right.
And not untimely unraveling of it all, rather than the opposite. But it's whatever is happening, you have this moment, and then you're thinking, and you're thinking about the future, and you're thinking about the past is the mechanism by which you will truly suffer in each moment, because it is in fact true to say that even physical pain is something around which you can develop an impressive ability to be equanimous, right? And we also have, we have For extreme pain, we have painkillers. I mean, like happily we're not living in 1700 where, someone is just kind of sawing off your limb, after the leeches didn't work. 99% of our suffering around everything, even objectively horrible things like brain tumors, is our thought about past and future, is the regret, and it's the story we're telling ourselves.
Our mind is the control tower of our life. Whatever happens in our life starts right here. All of our decisions are there. And the truth is, whatever we are today is the result of what we've been thinking about all those years. The Bible says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if you don't like what's going on around you, maybe you should ask yourself the question, what am I thinking about? What do I think about myself? What do I think about other people? Because what we think about is really what controls us. For example, our relationship to God, our relationship to each other, our sense of direction in life, whatever we accomplish, our failures in life, all of that is a result of the way we think. And oftentimes we forget that this is the control tower, that everything else is a result of how we think, that we can't control everybody else in control of all of our circumstances, but we are going to respond to circumstances in one way or the other. And so when I think about how this affects us, I think about the fact that many people are where they are because of wrong thinking, and so they don't like where they are. Other folks are where they are because of right thinking, because they've been thinking the right way. What you have to ask is this: what is it that determines what I think? This mind of yours controls everything else in your life. You say, well, what about all the other parts of my life? We respond to the way we think. And so if we think right, we're going to have one response. We think wrongly, we're going to have another. Very important that we understand how that works. So this requires me to understand how to control my thoughts. If I want to think right, if I want to think godly, if I want to think holy, if I want to think righteously, right here's where it starts. And many people lose it right here. They don't think right. They don't think godly. They don't think like they're worth anything. And they say, well, I just never had the opportunity, or I just never will be that, or I'm just this and I'm not that. This is why people who are very beautiful can think they're ugly. And people who are very skinny can think they're fat. And they refuse to eat because they look in the mirror and they don't see what's reality. And so your mind controls every aspect of your life. In fact, what you think determines how you live. What you think determines how your relationship to God, as we said, your relationship to others, your relationship to yourself. And many people start out in life defeated because of the influence of their parents, their grandparents, that tell them they'll never amount to anything, or this is wrong with them, or that's wrong with them. And as a result, they go through life, having heard, written in their minds, impressed in their thinking, if my mama said it, my daddy said it, or my grandmother said it, it must be true, therefore. And oftentimes people are ruined as a result of what they have been taught, or what they have been or what they've heard from someone that they value very highly.
Self-talk is so critical. And so I'm consistently paying attention to, how am I speaking to myself? Am I speaking to myself in a kind, motivating, empathetic, compassionate way? Or am I consistently self-deprecating and putting myself down? I used to think a lot, when I was younger, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not worthy. Those thoughts, and lots of fear of being embarrassed, fear of failure, fear of being ashamed. And I still have the thoughts every once in a while, especially when I'm setting new goals. Those come up, holy mackerel, they come up so freaking fast. Are you smart enough to achieve that? Are you good enough to achieve that? Even when I got into really diving deep into the brain science and even my new book, I was petrified to release my book. It took me 2 years to write it, because now I'm entering another whole domain of neuroscience and neuropsychology with world-renowned experts that I've worked with for years. But now here I am putting myself out there with, hey, this is neuroscientifically correct. So I had to make sure that it was. But there was a lot of fear but I understand what the emotion of fear is. It's a subconscious trigger that causes this feeling that I don't like. And it's a go signal for me, not a stop signal for me.